I think what we could do, since we're waiting for Stephanie, we can go ahead with the first part of the agenda and elect officers. So I'll call the meeting to order. And since I was secretary in 2024, I'll just take that position tonight just to get through this meeting.
Okay.
And so, oh, I got somebody. Stephanie, is that you? Are you on? No?
When she gets on, do we want to go jump to her business so she
Well,
can get off? If you
Yeah,
want?
we can,
That
that's
would
what
be the
I,
administrative part, and then when
Yeah.
she gets in,
Okay.
it should be.
okay, so I'll bring the meeting to order. And since we do have a quorum, since Paul's on it, well, we have three, and then Paul's on Zoom. And just to let you know, Paul, you are being recorded. You will be on YouTube in the immediate future. So you good with that?
I am good with that. So,
Okay. Okay, we're going to go ahead and elect the officers. So I need a motion to elect the following officers: Secretary, Vice President, and President. And I'll start out by electing Kevin Van Horn as Secretary. Do I have a vote?
I have a second for that, and I have a vote for that.
Well, you have a motion, so you're giving a motion to vote. Paul?
aye.
Okay, Paul will second that motion, and I'm good with that also. So congratulations, Kevin, you're a new secretary. Now I need a motion for Vice President, and I would like to elect Paul Berry as Vice President. So can I have a motion for that?
I move to elect Paul Berry as vice president.
I'll second that.
I vote for that.
And third position is President. I'll leave that up to another member.
I nominate John Helfrey for president.
I second.
And I accept. And the positions are full. Thank you. Okay. Stephanie?
University.
Yeah,
That's her cell phone number.
yeah, she's not getting on.
Well, she says she's trying to,
Okay,
but that's her cell number.
all right, thank you.
Sorry. didn't you?
She's way too sweet for you. You know that, don't you?
Have that number, John? Excuse my interruption of the meeting. Thank you. I have an 812.
Okay, we're gonna take a little bit of a break here to see if we can get Stephanie to join us. She's having trouble getting on.
What are getting after it today on the lake? Beach.
Nervous. Good energy. Before Stephanie gets on, if I may.
Sure.
Mr. President. There are 2 points of order that were brought before the council last night, and John was at the meeting. First of all, Mark Morris Jr. has expressed interest in joining the tree commission. You guys know Mark, he's been in town, he owns a business, he has an invested interest and energy to bring to the tree commission. In order to do so, there is an amendment to the ordinance that will need to be made. If I have your permission, I would like to make the amendment from resident simply to resident or business owner in the ordinance and ask the council's approval of that ordinance. I'm sure it will pass in 3 readings, no problem, and it will be a one offer. While we're doing it, John also had an excellent suggestion. And John, if you don't mind expressing that, you mentioned that we should also amend.
Right, down in the responsibilities. Under the responsibilities, there's an item here, it says, administer a written plan for the care, preservation, pruning, planting, replanting, removal or disposition of trees and shrubs. And that position has actually been taken over by the streets and sanitation. So I suggested we amend that line to either eliminate it or say removal in conjunction with the town streets department. So if sometime down in the future, it somehow comes back to the tree commission, we're not changing paperwork again.
So in order to be formal, before I present to the town council, what I'll have to do is get a vote. So what I'm going to ask for is a motion for a recommendation. That's what you'll give me. Recommendation to make the necessary edits to the residency as well as the tree removal. So that's what I'm asking about.
And I will make that motion.
It, one point, the residency, so that's still remaining as a resident of the town of Culver within
Resident
town
of the town?
limits.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
Or a business owner within the town annexation.
And that is the town city limits, not the 2 mile.
That is exactly right.
Okay.
Yes, unless so otherwise instructed by the tree
Okay.
commission.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we amend the verbiage in the ordinance 2006-04 to address the residence issue, to read residence or business proprietor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the language.
And in the, under the responsibilities of the tree commission, to amend the removal or disposition of trees and shrubs to amend it to read removal in conjunction with the street department or disposition of trees and shrubs. That sound right?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay.
Okay, motion, I'll get a second.
And
I'll
then
I'll
you-
second that.
I see
And-
go, never mind.
So motion carries. And I say it. We all say aye.
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 Motion carries.
Paul's got an eye online, so that's
Okay.
a 4-0 vote. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Yeah, she's there.
Okay. Stephanie,
Hi.
you hear me?
Hi, nice to meet you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes. And let me
Awesome.
introduce-
That up a little bit. Yeah.
Stephanie, can you say something?
Hello? Can
Oh,
you hear me
yeah.
all right? Okay,
yes.
good, good. Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate you guys. I know John invited me earlier in the week and I'm really happy to meet you all and looking forward to working with everyone in Culver. I'll give you just a little background on myself. I'm the Urban Green Infrastructure Coordinator at Indiana University's Environmental Resilience Institute. So I run the cohort that's taking place in Culver this year. And one fun thing is I'm also a tree commissioner for City of Bloomington down here. So it's nice to see another commission at work. That's a lot of fun. We do conversations a lot like what you just had there. I'm not sure how much background all of you have on the program, so I kind of wanted to give you just the overview. We have a big speech. Yes?
No, that's all right.
Okay.
I was waving about something else, but go ahead.
Oh, okay, good. I know I talked fast, so I was making sure I didn't kind of slip over anything. So the Urban Green Infrastructure Cohort is a group of 4 communities around Indiana each year. So this year it'd be Culver, Dearborn County, Goshen, and Hammond. And we've actually already started some prep work here on our end at ERI and with our project partners. We partner with Davie Resource Group and also with a community engagement consultant. So Davie Resource Group has already begun doing land cover analysis of all the communities that our fellows that will come to live in the communities will use in this specific technical analysis to determine where the community most needs trees for reasons like stormwater management, urban heat island, and other factors. And what we call those are priority planting areas. And it's from those areas that the fellow then works with the community to decide where everyone would like to have trees and what kind of species would be preferable. And that's one place where I was talking with John earlier about that I think the Tree Commission would have a really valuable role in helping to determine the palette of tree species that people might be able to choose from small, medium, and large size plots. So in a nutshell, what we'll be doing is this land cover analysis I just described and determination of the priority planting areas. We'll do weekly trainings with our project partners and subject matter experts from around the state. The fellow with the community will select 100 planting sites for trees. And we'll also create with all that a tree planting and maintenance plan that describes the process, by which the tree sites were chosen, what work might be suggested in the future, as well as some care and maintenance support of the trees. And speaking of which, the trees also do get watering, mulching, inspection, and pruning for the first 3 years after they've been planted. That's provided as part of our grant. And then, of course, there are those 100 trees. We have a volunteer planting event in November. Those were really fun last year. People came up from all over the neighborhoods and helped plant about 25 trees in each of our 4 communities for 2024. And then the remainder of the trees get planted by contractors and subcontractors in the following weeks. So that's the very fast overview of what the program's like. But I wondered if anyone had any questions for me.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
You got, and I've got
Steph,
to.
one thing I need to make sure that I tell you, by being on Zoom, you accept being on air. In the eventual YouTube, probably be coming out next week when they do minutes and stuff, so.
Oh,
by
sure,
being
sure.
on-
That's totally fine. Yeah.
Okay. I think we were concerned in general. I like the program and I think we were very supportive of it. We always had a concern with general size. And I think you say this, is this one person or are you saying a fellow as a group that would come here?
So each community has one fellow, and then that fellow works with the community. They're paired with, in this case, I'm with Kevin Dante, and then they work with other members of the community that have knowledge or leadership roles within the community to do their job. And all of this is supervised by me, and then also our project partners serve as trainers and advisory positions.
So this would be Rebecca Emerson Wells. Is that who would be the fellow?
Yes, yes. She was the one that we did place with Culver. I think she's going to be great. She comes from a smaller town in North Carolina. She's a graduate student, took an urban forest management class that our center director, ERI's director, taught last semester. So I actually got to meet her in person and watch her present. It was really, really nice.
She's got a very impressive resume, that's for sure.
She does. Yeah, she's going to be amazing. I'm really excited to get to work with her more closely in the next coming weeks.
Okay, and Dennis Badar here, he's our kind of local guru on our trees, and he helps us
good.
quite a bit picking out species, and I'm sure he's got some concerns
Yeah,
and
I
questions.
do. I'm kind of terrible as an auditory learner, I found out in school, so this is tougher for me. I mean, yeah, I don't know where to start here. Yeah, you do talk fast, which is tough for me. But thank you for doing this, by the way, we really appreciate it. I guess I'm just gonna ask for a big picture first. So we have, and she does have an impressive resume. We have this Rebecca person, who I did send, if I had all the information correct, I did send a little welcome letter to her yesterday so that she would feel like she's gonna
Oh,
be
good.
working with decent people.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, her resume was really kind of a wow thing.
Mhm.
So give me just kind of a big picture. So we have this person who has all this experience. She is actually going to come here to Culver around mid-May, or am I missing that, like the 19th or something? Does
That's
that sound right?
correct. Yes,
Okay.
yes. The 19th is exactly when she starts. Yep.
Since this is all brand new to us, today we're going to start planning a little ahead on what we're going to be doing for the year. So it's important we know this.
That's great.
Is she going to, how much is she going to be here? Because she is still doing the fellowship business at Bloomington. Is that correct?
She actually will be living up in Culver. And this is something that I had meant to touch base. I will touch base early next week. I have an email sort of started out to all of the communities to see where everyone is on. We tend to ask, and I had a conversation with Kevin about this, for some support in just locating housing. The housing is included in our grant. We have a stipend that we provide to the students. We just need to know where. They may not know where to live quite yet. So I was going to touch base with Emerson and Kevin about that probably Monday or Tuesday.
So she'll be living here and staying here.
Yes.
I think Kevin has already set up office space.
Oh, great.
at
Well,
the
that's
beach
even
house.
better. Okay, so through this grant and all of this business, there are 100 or so trees or whatever number available to Culver. Is
Mhm.
that correct?
Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay, we found last year that when we normally plant trees in October just because of the heat. We seem to have a drought every summer here, sometimes
Mhm.
several. It becomes very difficult for a young tree to be established. We planted early last year because we got a deal from a nursery that had already dug trees. If you buy these trees, we'll give them to you at a discount. And being government people, we're always looking to save some money. But it turned out to be
Understandable.
a problem because it was so hot and dry.
Mm-hmm.
For reasons of health and people working a lot, I was the one left with the watering business
Mm.
of all the trees, and it became really daunting and difficult to do. For sometimes the street department would help, and when they don't, then I'm kind of left on my own to carry water with my car all over town to all these trees. And it got, my inseam is now like 80 inches on each sleeve.
I'm sure.
Okay, too. So so I just want to make sure we're not confused here. So when she comes up here in May, is she looking to say, okay, we're going to plant trees now? Because, or I'm talking about Rebecca, because she's saying, because I can do the watering and it doesn't matter when we plant them because I'll be here to do that. Do you
So
know?
actually, so what it'll be like is she'll get there in May and do this GIS analysis first, and that takes a few weeks. And then she'll also start working with the community. Our goal is for her to have by the end of July to have the drafted set of sites for the trees. But the trees will not get planted until November. This is a unique fellowship in a way. A lot of times, the students are done in August and that's it. They stay on part-time, very, very part-time, like 2 hours a week through November, and they come to the planting, as do I actually. And so we plant the trees. We didn't do any plantings until the first weekend in November in 2004 or 24 last year. I would not plant earlier than that this year. That's the earliest I would plant because there was a drought in Warsaw when and the soil was super hard on November 2nd when we planted. So I'm going to push those all to be at least the first weekend in November, if not a little bit, tiny bit later. So.
Okay, so by the end of July or so, she's going to have mapped out kind of her goal of where things are going and whatnot.
Exactly.
I couldn't hear you. In November, who does the planting?
So that will be, it's a volunteer planting that's organized by Emerson with help from our community engagement consultant and me and a few other people and you guys, of course. So we organize this volunteer planting event that occurs on really whatever day Culver chooses. We kind of let everyone do top 3 choices, and it's my goal to give everyone their top choice if I can. So you get to choose the date. And then the other thing about it, so that volunteer planting, we found about 25 trees to be the appropriate amount to get done in a morning like that. And the other trees will get planted by either Davy Resource Group or a subcontractor, depending on how it works out best for Davy financially. Then the trees get watered and maintained by either Davy or the subcontractor for that year and then the following 3.
Terrific. That solves a lot of problems. Now, my other
It
thing
makes
is,
it easy.
tree freak. Some trees are really good at street planting, and some trees are not very good for street planting, as you well
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And I'm also concerned about, I've been planting trees my whole life, it seems like, and sometimes I've done free thing. The state of Indiana used to have some programs where you could go to 4-H fairgrounds, for example, and there would be free trees and shrubbery, and you could plant them, but they always were bare rooted and they always were wrapped in the moist sphagnum moss and then wrapped.
Mhm.
Are these trees are from state nursery or something? You know?
They are. Yeah. Davy Resource Group sources the trees. Yeah. So they'll come from a nursery. I was astounded by these trees when we saw them at the first planting last year. They're taller than me. They're about, I would say, give or take, 1.5 DBH, maybe
Okay.
close to 2, depending on the tree species. And so they're beautiful trees. And
Okay. I'm fine with that too, because I that size is terrific. I'm guessing they're coming from the state nursery. If they're 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches or whatever, they're going to have a fairly good sized root system wrapped and et cetera. Because I mean, most of the people of the state are really good at making sure the root size matches what's going to be the canopy.
yes. So a lot of our trees came from Woody Warehouse last year, and they had them in those special pots that are, I don't remember the term for them, but they encourage the roots to grow out and not circle, that sort of thing. So yeah, so we just have to cut them out of these. I'll think of the name of them and tell you later.
Are
But
are the pots, are they called PEAT pots where they actually rot in the soil?
no, there's it almost looks like a reusable grocery bag, but it's like really thick
Oh.
material with handles on it.
Uh,
So yeah, so we like we just it's a very thick piece of material that's soft though it's pliable that we have to use a cutter to get off of the tree. So
Um, before all this happens, is there a list somewhere of the species of trees that are available? Or is it sort of, whatever we get?
there is what I've asked the fellows to do, and we work with Davey on this, and especially, and I want to make like one training that I'm thinking about for this summer. I almost have these mapped out is with someone from a nursery that can kind of give the overall advice about what is, in this year and like what they have. But really, the fellow with the city develops the planting species list. So I would match Emerson up with you at the tree commission to think about what species you would like to have. And I know a lot of
You wait till Rebecca gets here and then we can go over this. Is that what you're saying? So
yeah, exactly. There's like 3 iterations of this where I asked them to first get the list that the community has and then to keep kind of working on that list with the goal of having around 10 species that comprise the planted trees so that we can keep that species diversity up, but not make it so complicated that, there's 23 species running around. So yeah.
Right. Okay. And you said this was also mulch and the tree guards because we have a huge deer problem here in this town.
Oh yeah, we had so we have like a cylinder with mesh around it that we put around each tree, and that happens at the volunteer planting itself. It was the last thing we did each time in last fall because the deer are. I get it. Down here, I can't grow anything in my yard. It's unless I cage it. So.
Yeah, it is. The other thing is, and this is always an iffy thing, and this is even tree experts disagree on this. So this is not one of those that's yes or no. In the past, I mean, you could get trees either in the usual black plastic pots, et cetera, and you take them out, or most nurseries will dig them, ball and burlap them. So that's really heavy when you put it in the ground. Sometimes, depending on the location, if there's a high wind area, if it's a bare rooted tree, you can pack it. There's been some movement. I'm guessing we should have available a few poles in case we need to tie them. Because we don't have that movement problem much because of the ball and burlap, but with the bare rooted, there might be.
Yeah, well, these won't be bare root. These will have soil around them. But so when Davey comes to inspect, what happened this past year is we planted all the volunteer trees, and then the subcontractors did look at the planted trees, and anything that needed to be staked it. Not saying that if you notice one that needs a stake, by all means. I mean, but the goal is to make it so it's taken care of for you. So.
It is a lot easier. I mean, this is so easy. I can't believe it's happening.
It's great. It's
for Christmas or that BB gun. Really, thank you for that. Okay. Our other thing is we do have a budget here where last year we asked the city for a certain amount of money to do our usual tree planting. So,
Well, at this point, when we get done with this, we're gonna have a vote on the $3,500 to secure the Indiana U program. So we'll have that vote when you are done with your presentation.
okay. That sounds great. And just to backtrack a little bit, it'll be 3,200 instead of 3,500 because you guys, like last year, that was the fee. And so when you weren't able to participate last year, and I know that was kind of a disappointment, we wanted to keep the same fees for this year. So.
okay. No pun intended here, but this program, like I said, sounds like my BB gun for Christmas. Where was the seed of all of this? How long has this been going on?
So Dr. Sarah Mincy, she's the managing director of ERI, started this as a pilot in 2022. So there were, I believe, 8 communities, including a county, that did this cohort except for the planting of the trees. So everything that I described and up until the planting, they did that with a differently funded grant. And then that kind of conceived of this idea that we could do this whole package, and especially to include the care and the maintenance, which is part that, I mean, it's really nice to plant 100 trees, but if it's hard for a community to be able to take care of them, it's not as nice. So it became the goal to just do the whole package. So last year was the first year that we did the entire cohort, and we'll have it this year, 26 and 27.
Okay, is this Davy you're talking about? Is this the big Davy Tree Service company that does
It
pruning?
is, yeah, it is. They do, they do a lot. They're working with our fellows on both GIS work. They have a very specific, like, professional analysis that they do using that software, and then they also do tree planting. I had a lot of fun planting with them. It's Erin Flint from there that runs the part of the cohort that does the planting, and she taught me how to plant a tree in a way that much more detailed than I'd ever done in my life. It was great. So.
One other thing, and I don't know if you want to give this to me or not, but I loved when I heard you're on the Bloomington Tree Commission.
Mhm.
And I don't know how you guys do your business. We're going to be discussing sometime soon, maybe a change in the amount of money where we do our own plantings with that, like we've done in the past, kind of along with this. Would I be able to ever pick your brains on how Bloomington, I'm doing this with Plymouth also, and I think you guys are tied up with a Plymouth, Indiana also, is that correct?
No, that didn't,
That's not.
it would
It
start
had
out.
been that, yeah.
Okay. I've been picking their brains because they have several really experts on their tree commission also. And I wouldn't mind picking yours sometime, not taking your time during this meeting about how you guys do your planning, because we're gonna discuss making a change in literally the science of what we do here in planting a tree. Status quo is okay, but sometimes there's a better way. Would I ever be able to get a hold of you during the week, and we could just discuss this without you having to sit here any longer?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. And I think I could probably include the urban forester here at Bloomington in that meeting too, because he's got a lot of that knowledge, way more than I do about all of that. And he's always really happy to collaborate. So
Right, that's who I'd like to talk to, really. So
Yeah.
how would I get a hold of this person? If I gave, I don't
I
see any
can,
info from you down here. Is there
I
contact
will
info?
send an email to him, to Haskell. His name is Haskell Smith.
Okay.
I can reach out to him and let him know you're interested in talking with him about just planning and planting in general. And I really do think he'd be happy to help. He's been really gracious with a lot of that sort of thing. So
One caveat to this, since this is Bloomington we're dealing with, I went to Purdue. That doesn't bother you?
no. My daughter, my youngest, was torn between Purdue and IU. She's a nursing student. She did end up here at IU, but I would have supported Purdue. So.
For a minute, Purdue anyway.
We're trying to figure out how Purdue got into March Madness, but they're
They-
there.
They did.
Stephanie, with this $3,200 commitment, are we going to get some type of paperwork that's going to give us the general program along with some type of guarantee if for some reason it doesn't materialize?
So we have the collaboration letter that Kevin sent, or that I sent to Kevin, that would have like kind of all the responsibilities of everybody. And I think your question is probably related to the nature of the funding of the project, knowing that it is IRA funded. So we've had this discussion at ERI, what would happen if this project were to become unfunded. And what we are going to do is, regardless, and right now we've been told by the university, go ahead and do the work. Just keep going. So that's what we're doing. If for some reason our funding were to be cut, we would internally fund the program all the way up until the tree planting and maintenance plan is created and the tree sites have been chosen. And then we would help communities find grants, hopefully, for the planting of the trees. So because it was a hard thing to think that we could start this program and not be able to do anything at all. But we know that that's one thing that we can commit to, is just to use internal funding to make sure that we can do as far as we can into it.
And can we get any of that in writing?
Yes, yeah, I can send a description of that because we are committed to that. So I have no problem sending an email that says this is what we'll do.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
One other thing.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Hi. Just by accident, I'm retired now on something else I just fell into was being a newspaper correspondent up in this neck of the woods. And I was just thinking, would it ever be, I would love to have some pictures and write this up for our local newspapers. Would it be any help to give those papers to you for, look, this is what's going on in the program. There's pictures that made the newspaper, et cetera, so people can see it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we use those for our internal reports, but we also use them for our own outreach. In fact, when I do any of our grant summary reports for the U.S. Forest Service, I include things like that.
Okay.
And we do in our ERI, if somebody has a story, we might also repost it through our website too, because we actually really love sharing the good news that somebody else has about their community that we know and that we've worked with. So.
Okay.
So absolutely.
All right. Well, I think we can, if you're done with your presentation, which was very good, by the way, we can go ahead and have a vote on the $3,200 commitment. And to have a motion, enter a motion to, for the $3,200 commitment with the assured guarantee of Stephanie that the program is going to go forward and the trees will be planted. How's that?
That sounds good. The only thing about the program going forward, the tree planting, we would not be able to fund the tree planting from the ERI money. That would be something that we would need to assist in writing a grant with. But what we would get all the way up to is the land cover analysis, the GIS, priority planting areas delineated, the tree planting plan, and then the 100 sites chosen with the community as well as the species.
All right, so we need to amend it a little bit and say something to the effect that with your help, funds could be raised to finish the program.
Absolutely. And we have a really good grant writing team that helps communities with grants. And actually, that's just something to put just out there for the future if Culver is interested. They work with communities that are smaller than 50,000 people. And the goal is to help them get grants for any kind of environmentally related project they want to do. So I'll get that to you just so you guys know who those people are. But hopefully, I mean, my goal is that this cohort runs as planned and we're able to do those tree plantings in November. But it's good to have some, side solution if anything happens it's out of our control. So
Mail that to Kevin, or do you want to email it to me or copy me?
yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, email it to Kevin because he's the town manager and we have a motion to approve the $3,200. Do I have a motion to second it?
I second.
And a vote will say aye.
Aye.
No, it's unanimous.
Excellent. That makes me so happy. I'm really looking forward to working with you. And actually, one more thing I wanted to say. We're having what we call our community kickoff meeting next Thursday at 2:00. And if any of you would like to come so that you can hear a much slower version of what I presented to you, along with slides and the ability to answer questions that you might have, I can get the Teams link to you.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Stephanie, I think I already know the answer to this, but just to make me feel better, this grant money is not private. It's coming from the state of Indiana. It has nothing to do with the federal government, does it? Is that correct?
For the funding?
Yes.
The funding does come from the federal government.
Okay, that always scares me a little now.
Well, it is definitely it's an interesting position to be in. Right now, we have not been told to stop working, and we're supported by the IU Research Office, which manages all of these grants that are kind of in this state of somewhat uncertainty, depending on which grant. But they told us to keep working, and so I think I feel really fortunate that we have the backing of the university at this point, so that we're not having to wait to start, for instance, in May. We know we can go ahead and start. So.
Yeah, pictures of people with chainsaws are quite daunting when we're talking about planting trees.
Yes, they are.
All right. Okay, then, so you're gonna put that paperwork together and then we'll, is there some kind of billing that's the $3,200 goes to, or? like any
Yes.
university?
Yes, I
Or-
will talk with them. Oh, go ahead.
You can include that in the paperwork.
Yes, I'll include the, yes, what we have is, the collaboration letter that I'll make sure that I get to Kevin. And that gives us, that basically gives us the okay to invoice. And then the invoice would come, most likely from Julie, who does those at ERI, but I'm also happy to send it if she's able to get it to me. So,
And if you just copy me on it, I would appreciate it.
okay, that sounds great. I will do that.
Okay. Any other questions? Paul, do you have anything?
Yeah, sure do. If we could maybe just talk schedule, maybe offer up the week of 9 through 15 November as a plant date. And the rationale being Tuesday 11th is Veterans Day. And a lot of folks are around town, and the Academy does some stuff. So I don't know if there's, a token representation or something might be worked at the cemetery, not to be the planning, but just tie that week together or get on the calendar. And then working backwards, if any key decision dates that we need to be pursuing right now as far as requirements to turn in. You got funding, number one, but are there any concurrent grants or something we should work for a multi-year approach?
That is a good question. The grants that I was just looking at grants today, just for another reason. And I know that IDNR will have a grant opening, a window opening in the summer. And that's the one that I know about so far. And they have 3 or 4 different types. But one thing that I'm kind of putting together for this year for our communities is an interactive grants table that's part of our course site on IU's Canvas infrastructure. And we would update that with any grants so that people could kind of keep an eye out, because I do like the idea of once we start this cohort of communities being able to build on the work that we're doing this year. So.
Okay, great.
Okay, and as far as the planting time, we kind of have to consult with our fellow, which would be Rebecca, when she comes in and goes through all this planning, and then we can hone on more, get closer to specific dates and weeks.
Yeah, exactly. I think I technically have that assignment something like June, but if you guys have an opinion and you have a date that you really want and you want to talk with her about that, there's no reason why we can't decide earlier on a planting date.
Okay. That sounds certainly flexible.
Yes, yeah. We want to just, every community is different. I had a lot of fun with this last year. It was unique the way both the volunteer plantings turned out, and just the way the fellows in the communities chose to plant their trees, how they placed them around the community. So it was just a lot of fun to see how everyone kind of made it there. So.
All right, well, we sure thank you for your time and efforts.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Have you concluded?
I think I'm done, unless you have any more questions for me. And I'll make sure I get all of that information in case any of you want to come to the kickoff next Thursday.
Yes.
I'll try and slow down a little bit and show everything on slides, because it is a complex program. There's a lot of details that you'll see a little more as we get closer. So.
All right.
Stephanie, this is exciting. I'm so glad you're like this, making the world a better place, because trees, long after we're gone, they're going to be there doing their 100 things they do. So
they are, yeah. I feel fortunate to be able to do the job I get to do. I actually enjoy it every day. So it's
grows on you, doesn't it? I know.
Literally.
but thank you very much. And this is exciting for us. It really is.
Thank you so much. I'm excited too. And it was really great to meet you all over Zoom. And I'll be up there in Culver in late June, most likely. We do site visits of all the communities. So I'll try and make it a point to come when you guys are having a meeting, so that we can talk about where we are at that point. So.
Great.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank
And,
you.
yeah, to kind of combat Danny here, I'm an IU grad, so it's great
Oh.
to see IU.
Okay, so see, we're working together. My PhD mentor was Purdue, all 3 degrees, and he used to bring in cookies when Purdue won, any sport game. So, and they were all like black and yellow. So,
Explains the obesity
Yeah.
problem, doesn't it?
Anyway,
yeah, right.
I know.
it was,
Not yours, I don't mean that.
I know that was the word.
I wasn't aware we had a ringer. I'm all for this. This is good. All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
Stephanie.
Steph.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all
Thank-
so much, and feel free to reach out to me with any questions, and I'll be in touch. I'll send everything early next week. So,
Thank you.
Sounds good.
all right, have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Impressive. Wow, really impressive. Her and, I mean, she's impressive with the resume.
Right, right. No, I'm sorry.
You told me to read. I read
Yeah.
that thing. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, it sounds good.
Wow.
Okay, we have that. I think based on what she said, we're kind of gonna have to wait till May to meet Rebecca and
See what's going on.
yeah, see what's going on, and we can get more acquainted with her and what her plans are, in conjunction with what trees are the
Mhm.
possibilities.
Mhm.
Because now, according to our ordinance, we're not only responsible for parkways, we're responsible for any town-owned land, excluding the park.
Right, that, they have their own
Yeah,
gig, don't they?
right. So if we have to see what's available, what kind of trees we're gonna get, because
Mhm.
some of this might go into areas that would fit the need, and others, we may have to go to Dogwood Hills
Mhm.
to get maybe a taller species or a older tree, something like that. But we have to wait until May or June to kind of figure that out.
And when we get to number 4 on here, I'm gonna throw out this thing as a possible to talk about change in the way we do things, but we're not to number 4 yet, so.
Yeah,
wait my
pruning
turn.
and pruning and planting. Now,
Yeah.
they did a nice job last year with the pruning, and I'm sure we got some more streets we could do.
Mhm.
Right now, our budget is $15,000. We do have that extra money that was carried over. It's another 1,600.
So this is gonna be that money plus the 1,600
Well,
minus the 3,200, is that
Right,
correct?
right. But we do have to get approval from the town council to use that
That
money
extra.
from last
Right.
year, because that went back into the general
Right.
fund.
Mhm.
And the town council assured me that if we needed, there was a need for that
Mhm.
additional money, and it made sense to, bring them the information,
Mhm.
then they would probably
Okay,
be positive with
all
it.
right,
So we do have the possibility, I
All
think
right.
it's 16.5.
all right.
So just to bring you up to date on that. The only other thing would be, do we want to, well, I don't want to set a date for another meeting until we can learn when Rebecca's coming.
Yeah. Be nice to have her in on the next one,
Yeah,
wouldn't it? We
right.
could maybe meet then, because there's a lot up in the air till we
Right.
see her and.
Right. Well, let's put that on the table, and we can, when I find out a little bit more about that,
Okay,
and then we can address that with another meeting. Other than that, I think I don't have anything else.
So we're done with 3 because we've already talked about the budget, correct?
Yeah, we got to we need more information to go forward with what
Okay.
we're going to do.
And we're gonna wait on Rebecca a little bit. Here, if we can be at 4 before we adjourn, just let me throw out something.
Sure, go ahead.
This is still in the planning stage, and the reason, when I told her I'd like to talk to her and the Bloomington, Tree Commission, and now she's got an urban person, and they're usually really bright and they're into sort of this stuff. So I'm picking Plymouth's brain and them, and maybe another group. I'd like to find out, because I know Plymouth at least was planning on making a change on how they did their plantings. And let me share it with you. It's something I've been thinking about for a long time too. The change comes from, I don't know, several of the people on Tree Commission in Plymouth are tree people. So
Mhm.
they really know their stuff. They've got to the point where, and this is a labor issue also. So it's a little pie in the sky. Let's just talk about the typical way we go to Dogwood Hills. We pick out what we want because we know where we want them and how big, et cetera, et cetera. And then they do the digging of them, and they may or may not sit around for a while. Now, last year when we bought from them, some of them when they were planted, and they don't open up their burlap very far, sometimes not at all, but at least a little bit. Some of it was really dry, which means they'd been sitting there for a while or hadn't been watered for a while, which it can be a real issue with a new tree because it's a shock to a tree to be dug and to their system. And it they're on it's like a baby. They're on thin ice for a while. Plymouth is starting to go to where they get their tree in the black plastic pots. And then it sounds weird. When you put a tree in the ground in burlap, it takes a while. And I've dug up some old trees, and sometimes the burlap has almost totally rotted out and the roots are coming out. At other times, it's still the burlap. It's been down there a long time. In other words, those roots can't get out. There's even a synthetic burlap that some places, I guess, still use that does not rot at all. I think they're going to have a little more success, and because I've planted bare-rooted, balled and burlapped, and plastic pots also, and I've had more success in the plastic pots only because you can stick your finger down in there and find out, are these healthy? Are the roots good? You can pull them out of there and look, and if they've been in that pot a long time, they'll be what's called root bound, where the roots will wrap around and around, and that's really no good for the plant. If I had enough help, or we had enough help, it would probably be healthier to buy the trees in the black plastic pots and literally plant them ourselves, because there's a certain size pot that has to fit to the caliper size of the tree. Those trees seem to make it easier and are healthier than the balled and burlapped ones. And so I'm just thinking out loud, can we talk about that more? Maybe even when Rebecca gets here.
Well, on that point too, Paul, I'm going to bring you in on this because we had a conversation previously that you have some watering equipment that you'd be able to provide.
Yeah, there's a couple options. Like I mentioned, I got Buddy. We were two guys in a lawnmower back in the day. He kept up on a landscape, so we put in about 40 trees over in Woodcraft Camp. So we've kind of been around, but I bought the old trailer park, so we've got a staging area if we need to heal in anything or air prune, some stock. I've got a riding mower, old wheel horse, and a landscape trailer, and I've got some IBC totes, 278 gallons. So can move water around, got something to haul with, worst case.
We can get water from the street department. It doesn't cost us anything. So you have more than one 270-gallon tank, or can you carry one tank at a time on your rig? Is that correct?
Two.
Two of them. So you can carry over 500 gallons of water.
Yep, and then just have to, I'll throw a 12-volt pump on it and wait.
Okay, so you're talking about a pump and then a hose coming out, and that kind of setup. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Wow, that's exciting because that means I don't have to carry 5-gallon buckets.
Well, that's
and wow, Paul, this is all too good to be true today. There's another BB gun for Christmas right there, and that thing.
Yeah. So if we have to, bring in stuff, I've got one of the totes right now. If you guys want to go down to the old trailer park up against the marina, I got one in the tree line, and that's just the gravity feed, whatever. I haven't done anything with the property yet. So that lot will be vacant this year at least. So it's a place to drop stuff.
Yeah, that's good news. So we have that
if you
available.
wanna go over, get some black horse poo, as it were. I'm willing to drop that down too. Set up some stuff on it.
So, I'm just thinking out loud a little bit now because it's sort of exciting. I was going to propose, I like his idea better because he has a drop site. If we can buy if we end up doing this, and we may want to test it 1 year to see how it works, but we can usually buy them a little less money and we don't have to pay for the plant, that whole business and do it on whatever day they want. For example, I've contacted the nursery north of Plymouth by the Triway Theater.
Oh, yeah.
Look,
Yeah, yeah.
I've just talked to them about if we end up going this way, can you? And she said, yeah, there is a last, I mean, there's only so late they can deliver in the year, and it might be a little earlier than we want if we want to do October, but it might be late July, August, which is not that long for them to sit
Mhm.
and have a little water dumped on them. The only thing is, we would need people with shovels, and we're not talking about the size of the holes that Dogwood Hills have been digging.
Right.
I've done it myself, and if I did it myself as an old man like I am, a couple of people that we could get to help could do it too. And if we're talking about 25 trees that we might end up buying,
Mhm.
if we do that, that's not that, I mean, it's not a killer amount of work. A few people in shovels and Paul with water could do that in a day.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out. Now, we're
Okay.
here, when Dogwood Hills comes, we're still here all day with them.
Right.
So this is, I don't think much longer, and they can sit, and we can actually do it, say, okay, we'll do 5 this day, 6 another day, and 10 another weekend or something. Doesn't have to be done in one day.
Well, here again, let's wait and, to
Right,
get this.
see, but I just wanted to
But
throw that
I
out.
like the input and I like the interest, and so we got some exciting things this year, and,
Yeah,
you know, hopefully, this will all come to bear fruit and we can
more
do it.
funds.
So,
Yeah,
Would
we
you
might
like, would you,
offer
would you,
up,
go ahead.
the approach. It looks like you guys have done a lot of work. John sent me a map that instead of just having an open palette, I would suggest, hey, IU, this is what we've proposed, and kind of have them argue good or bad. That might be if you've already done a lot of the work on the siting, then it's just maybe a question of, fine tuning that.
right.
We're probably gonna
Well, they're gonna do this was it AIS, analysis,
yeah,
and they're gonna map it out too. So, yeah, we fully intend to be engaged in this with, what we've done so far and where we want things to go. So from what I'm gathering with Stephanie, I think things are flexible.
she's really seems.
Yeah, so let's just, at this point, wait and see, and we'll just be prepared.
Yeah. We're pretty prepared with a lot of sites now, and if we get more
Yeah.
trees, there are more sites out there
Right,
for sure, especially when we talked about what you mentioned, city-owned property.
right.
Yeah, and only other thing, I'm willing to chase what I call OPM, other people's money. I think we need to chat with. I already chatted with Kevin Dante a couple weeks ago about leveraging when you can, whatever events. So, by example, side work program this year, people are putting in some sidewalks. It doesn't hurt to say, wouldn't you, consider a tree or something in the future. And then also the trail program money came in, so there might be some benefit, what's going on with the trails and what kind of budget, what kind of landscape kind of goes with that. So, maybe for pennies on the dollar, if the park's going to throw in a certain number of trees along a trail, maybe a couple extra trees go in on the side or something like that.
We'll have some.
Maybe
Okay.
just worth the coordination.
I have that one other piece of business that I wanted to throw out that we couldn't discuss yesterday because we didn't have a meeting with the Kevin.
Oh, I
Berger
brought
thing.
that, yeah, I brought that up. That's part of a sidewalk program.
Is that, because you found, wow, you are a president. You found that out.
Well, yeah, and as far as Kevin's been in touch with Kevin Berger,
Okay,
and he went out and looked at it because I brought it up in yesterday's
Okay.
meeting. And he said he doesn't see a reason for the sidewalks to interfere with those trees.
right, because you
Because
can
it
actually
only
go around them.
Yeah, well, it only goes up to a certain point. It
Right.
doesn't affect the trees.
Okay,
He doesn't think those trees will be damaged or taken out or anything.
so
like that.
before a sidewalk, let's say was planned there, I mean, it's gonna have to be planned and then homeowners appraised of the situation kind of thing, if they're gonna have a sidewalk. So in other words, Kevin's not gonna go to work one morning and find his trees cut down.
Kevin Dante assured me that that's not going to be the
Okay.
case.
All right, that's all.
And he's been in
Okay.
touch with Kevin Berger.
All done, boy, I'm telling you. Get out of
Okay,
the way.
we're gonna, Paul, anything else?
Did you have any questions or
I
anything?
did have just a couple of questions that I think might relate to the pruning thing, so it may need to be on. I wasn't sure with the IU grant if there was also looking
Oh.
at parkway trees.
That's right. Can I have your name?
Yes, my name is Julie. My last name is Patrick, P-A-T-A,
And you have an address?
and I reside at 520 State Street, S-T-A-T-E, in
Okay.
Home.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Oh, gosh.
We don't get too many visitors,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Excited to be here. Thank you. Me to mention, I don't know if you're familiar, our block is between Academy and College.
Mhm.
And there are, I believe they're called redbud trees.
Mhm.
And I just didn't know, like with this arborist or whatever,
Mhm.
Stephanie's colleague, is it Rebecca,
Mhm.
is coming, if there's an element to the program that's looking at existing trees and the health of those trees.
Are your trees, I think I kind of know where you live, but
So it's there's an Episcopal church.
Right,
out
okay.
there on the streets of
is there a sidewalk there?
So our side, both sides have sidewalk. What I'm confused about a little bit, when you mentioned sidewalk, our sidewalk curves and there's a red bud on the street side of
Okay.
the sidewalk and then one on our lawn side.
Okay,
And so Kevin, when you were asking about, do I have a tree to cut down? No, but I'm concerned about the health. A couple of years ago, I had contacted someone from your commission who allowed me to trim because I thought if people are walking their dogs on the sidewalk, they're
Mhm.
kind of coming down. So I hired an arborist to trim. They proved that, but I just don't know what to do because there's multiple. I have photos, but there's some on one side of the street, two on our side, and I'm concerned just about the health of them. I just want to make sure they're beautiful. And I just want to make sure, I didn't know if that was part of this grant program. I hear more, it's like new planting.
Right, right.
And I
Yeah,
don't want to overstep in any way if it's the city's concern or town of Culver versus my concern.
are those trees in between the curb and the sidewalk?
So on my side of, on my side of the street, one is between the curb and the sidewalk, and the other one is between the sidewalk and my house.
You'd be responsible for that. We'd be responsible for the parkway one between the sidewalk and the curb.
Okay, I just didn't know because of the way the sidewalk curves, if there was some.
yeah.
Why I ask is because they're all the same.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I just
There's
thought,
some across the street too?
there are. in the
Right.
church and in front of the house.
Okay. And he's on the corner, is that right?
No, he's between the church and the corner.
Okay. If you give the address again, if you want me to, I can,
He's,
I walk my dogs down there all the
he's pretty
time.
good with,
I have
Check it.
photos too, whatever is easy.
And if you want to give me an address, I'll just
Yeah.
walk my,
I-
okay, gotcha. All right.
I don't know if I've seen a curve in the sidewalk like that.
Right? It's confusing, but, well, it's confusing to me.
Oh, yeah.
Again, because the trees match,
Mm-hmm, yeah,
I just want to make
I can
sure.
look them over. How, would you guess, how large are the trees? Okay,
I just want to keep that because they're all so beautiful.
Yeah, I don't
just wanna
blame you.
make Sure they're.
takes a while to grow them and, okay.
Thank you for your consideration.
Oh, sure, I'd be glad to look
Yeah.
at them and see, so if I'm down there sometime and it's getting close to dark, your husband is not gonna draw a bead on me from the window or anything like that? Cause I can't stand it when people draw a bead on me. My grandmother was the same way, so,
he's been very helpful that way, and trees are part of his arms.
you're right,
Well, and I appreciate the work that you do. It is such a privilege to be here.
thanks,
Well,
and we'll
thank you.
look into them out within the next few days and,
Oh,
I can see.
that-
Sure.
that I was in my
We love it when somebody cares about their trees because not everybody does, if you know what I mean. And it does help beautify the town and animals. I mean, it does a million good things. Can you imagine Culver without trees? And there are some towns, if you go through their downtown in the main drag, there's nothing there and it's pretty brutal. It really is. So I'm glad you like those things.
All right,
I hope they don't get nipped this year by a late frost, but they're pretty tough trees and they're native, so they can handle it. Okay, boss.
if there's, no, that's right. If there's nothing else, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
I motion we adjourn.
Second.
Okay,